So when we look at things like that, then, and the men that you work with, what do you find to be a common obstacle or obstacles that they're facing when they're trying to create healthy relationships that maybe they didn't see or
Mhm.
that they want to actually have?
First thing that comes to mind, Taryn, is their resistance to look within themselves. And you kind of said it about blame. You blame the other person. Oh, she's annoying. What can I do to deal with this annoying woman or whatever? And they put the focus outward. And we can do that forever till the cows come home and not get anywhere because blame doesn't do anybody any good. And when you're not looking at yourself, chances are you're not really open to change. So the first thing, I work with usually is being self-reflective, and with that is starting with self-compassion. And that's something that we're not taught, man. I mean, it's not in our culture. I had to learn it. I mean, I was kind of aware of it, over the years, but about 8 or 9 years, no, I'll say about 9 years ago, I was in Seattle and I did a workshop with this woman named Kristen Neff, Neff. She wrote a book called Self-Compassion: The Proven Power of Being Kind to Yourself. And that absolutely changed my world because a lot of us men are full of shame and how we're being depicted now as men are bad, women are great, and that only just digs deeper into our shame. And, I have the shame of, being infidelity, or being cheating on my wife and my girlfriends and, all the shame in between. And when we can start with recognizing that everybody has something and that we're all going through something. Self-compassion is about treating ourselves as we would someone we love and care about. And with that comes forgiveness, forgiving others, and forgiving yourself first and foremost. And it's also understanding that there's a sense of community when you're suffering because everyone on this planet has suffered at some level. We're all going through something. And it's to understand through self-compassion that, hey, I'm not alone in this. There's other people going through this too. And then the third element of it is really about being mindful that, man, I'm going through something right now. I'm suffering, and to be mindful of taking care of yourself, to soothe yourself. So we start with that, and that is a game changer. And it can be a bit of a challenge because, like I said, we don't have people modeling this for us, and it's a whole new way of being. Yet I do this meditation with them as a guided meditation to take them through a self-compassion process, and it blows their mind every time because they realize that, yeah, I don't do that at all. And when they find a way to do that, a process where they can take care of themselves, that's a great place to start so that you're feeling good about you. You're okay with you. It's like me having to be alone. I'm okay with me. And now I can take that to the next to the next relationship. And when we feel good about ourselves, we're going to feel a lot better about going out and meeting other people and being in a relationship. But when we have all this internalized shame and guilt and all the crap that we put on ourselves, we're going to take that out in the world. And then, of course, it's going to look not going to look very good or very hopeful to be in a relationship, and especially if you're acting out with those subconscious internal struggles, right?
That reminds me of the peer group, if you remember that I told you about in the group chat,
Oh, yeah.
where they mention that there are what they would do is they would do the blame. They would say that, okay, there isn't any good women in my city.
Yeah,
And
the whole city.
right. And then now it's to the point where there isn't any good women in my country. So I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, fair enough. Mars isn't too far from being,
Mars
you
is
know,
next.
Mars is next, right? So it also reminds me of like the sci-fi movies where people would just launch off into space and find their one like Total Recall and all these sci-fi movies.
Right,
But
right.
in all seriousness, sometimes when I listen to them, it's like this is what I'm going through. I know some of my issues, but I'm not going to correct it. What I'm going to do is I am going to remain the same, complain, double down, and say that everyone else has to change to meet me here. And sometimes when I speak to some of these men in this group, I say that, well, that's perfect. You can do that. But on the other side is that women or whomever, could be men
Mhm.
too,
Right.
they're going to say, do I deal with this or do I just go find something else that can meet me halfway? Right?
Mhm.
Because some people don't want to go the entire distance, especially when the person is telling you they're not going to change and you have to accept all their bad behavior. And you also mentioned that sometimes that men get shamed into some of the things that they feel.
Mhm.
What do you then think is what can men do to have better models of healthy relationships and not feel the shame of maybe what society is putting onto them?
Well, that's tough. I mean, it really depends on where they are spending time and who, if they know someone, if you're young enough, like you have friends, parents, and you see that they get along really well, those are people that you want to aspire to be like. You certainly don't want to compare it to what you see on social media because everybody puts their happy face out there. They're showing the whole family, they're showing the love. And, I'm guilty of that too, but we all are. And if that's what you're comparing yourself to, then you're setting yourself up for some disappointment because you don't see the other side, right? Um, so it's really important to have, regardless of who's modeling this for you, it's having taking time to have clarity, to get clarity about what do I want? What are the qualities do I want in a relationship, in a woman, in a man, whatever it is? What do I want? And sometimes that's the hardest thing for us to do. And what's easy to do is think about all the things you don't want. And when you can do that, well, I don't want a woman that's superficial. Okay, well, then I want a woman then you go to the opposite. I want a woman that's more humble or whatever. So I do an exercise where draw a line down the middle of a page. You have what I want, what I don't want on one side and the other. And when you put out what you don't want, put the opposite on the other side. And that's a way to start to realize what I really want. And then don't accept anything else. Go for it. And put yourself in a place where you're going to find that. If you think you're going to find that in the club, well, I don't know. You might. But if all you're doing are clubs and, there's a lot of stuff going on in the clubs and you think you're going to find that type of person there, well, maybe, maybe not. But chances are you want to go to where you think that person's going to be.